This is Ryan Tabone, the Program Coordinator and Advisor for the Wood Manufacturing Cluster of Ontario. I have with me here today Rob Clare, owner of Diamond CNC, and we're on site and location here in Brantford to a facility that they're actually going to be transitioning from in a number of months. So we're going to capture the before of what their shop is like now before they're moving to their new location. And I have Rob with me here to tell us a little bit about the company, some background, and then we're going to go inside and take a shop tour. So Rob, tell us a bit about Diamond CNC.
Yeah, well, Diamond CNC is started as a parts manufacturing company for the cabinet sector that my dad and I had started together. Started out behind his house, part-time, really working our asses off, weekends, nights, as much as we could to get the stuff out the door, and it took off faster than either of us realized. So in a few months we doubled the size of our shop and became full-time at component cutting for other shops, and it really was just parts. And within a few months from there it was edge banding, and a few months from there it was build the boxes, and within the first year we had to really look into another facility because we had already expanded as big as we could behind his house. So we moved from 3,500 feet to a 10,000 foot shop on the other side of town, which we leased. We were there for about 2 years, and it was a great step. And then the opportunity came up to move to this facility, which we bought, which is about 12,000 feet roughly. And our business has moved from components mostly to full kitchens, complete assemblies, ready to install boxes for contractors and designers. And that's what we're going to see inside.
Yeah, I remember about a year or so ago I'd been to your shop before the pandemic, and the process looks already different from what I'd seen in the past. In that time period, it sounds like you guys have been going through a lot of changes inside the shop, and what's been driving that? How has that been going?
Yeah, so I think since the last time you were here, we've probably done 2 major redesigns of the shop layout. I think we had 2 CNCs that were manual load previously, and we'll see that now we run a single fully automated CNC. It's been pushed more to automation because it's so hard to find people to work and so hard to find dedicated people that do show up. Mm-hmm. We struggle a lot with hiring, but it's also struggling with keeping things in stock. So a lot of stuff is overstock, a lot of stuff is messy just because we can't keep enough on site, we can't keep enough people. So we've just had to redevelop and revamp and rethink of how we do things every step of the way, from sanding to cutting to whatever the case may be. We've basically put a new machine into every process that we used to do. A lot of the processes and machinery that we've put into the building, into the processes that we do, it's almost immediate. You see the results. Like my dad and I will be the first ones to do the project. We'll be the first ones to put the parts through a machine. We come up with the process and the way to do things, because if we can do it at a steady pace, then anyone should be able to walk in. But we really try to implement easier processes.
Great. Well, let's go take a look inside of Diamond CNC's current shop layout. Join us.
Here we are at the receiving door. We had to extend outside with more material handling. So we had this C container fashioned into a garage of sorts where we can store 9 more lifts of material. So we're over capacity here, and due to stock shortages everywhere, we've been forced to overstock our commodity items. Ordinarily, we'd keep 100 sheets of white, but as our most popular color and being in demand as it is, we're forced to stock over 200 sheets of white now. So we'll take a step inside here into the rest of the receiving area where all of our racking is for material and overstock of hardware. This is a Hawker indoor dust collector that we got through Taurus Krakow. It's actually on right now. That's how quiet it runs. It's a variable frequency, automatic blast gates, all linked to every machine in the shop. And you walk up to any machine you want to use, and just by turning it on, the dust collector will fire up all on its own. And depending on which machines and how many machines are running, the motor will ramp up and down to save on hydro. We used to run a big outdoor unit, and putting this in, we had a $500 savings in hydro in the very first month. So right off of the receiving, we have the Homeg N300 CNC machine behind the cage, as well as this female 12-foot beam saw. So it is a semi-auto beam saw, but it sure saves a lot of effort having to pick up and push and slide your own sheets through a blade. It is totally safe, where the blade runs underneath the table and the operator can auto set the fences on a digital control, and you can see he steps away, entirely away from the blade, doesn't have to hold the piece. The beam comes down and holds it right in place. Because we had two manual load CNCs previously, we've replaced them with an auto load CNC machine to take the capacity of the two. The single CNC machine has taken the capacity of two manual load CNCs, but unfortunately it's very difficult to handle recuts with an auto load machine. You have to interrupt your main production, and so getting a semi-automatic beam saw, we're able to handle recuts and even smaller jobs that don't necessarily need to go on to a big production machine like that. So it's time saving, and some of the older guys that don't like computers, it's a lot easier for them to handle. And you don't have to lift up a whole sheet, which is a really big benefit. You've seen the operator, he's moved the fences there. Right, this back side, the fences will automatically go back and forth to what size that he types in. So as we come through past receiving and the cutting area, we have multiple empty buggies on both sides of me here. We run these small lean-to carts for doors or small assembly orders, things that don't need to be sorted onto such a large cart. So all of our empty storage parking is down here, which makes it a little cramped. Even with these carts that we've made, there's two versions, because this was version 1, and yeah, it holds our MDF doors. But we made a second version here with a taller back. So version 2 of these lean-to carts is this one right here, where we've made a taller back and wider sides here. And that's so we can fit all of our doors on the cart, throw bigger panels across the top, and then also throw smaller lengths of toe kicks or other finished moldings along the side, just for transport from the cutting area over to the sanding and prep area. And here's how we use these lean-to carts, is just to throw the door onto there. We're going to be heading upstairs where we have our dovetail drawer and 5-piece door manufacturing area, as well as no man's land where our spray booth used to be. Okay, we'll just come through here. Here we are on the mezzanine, where we make all of our dovetail drawers with a CNC dovetailing machine. We make two sizes, a 4 and an 8. As well, here we have our balustrini miter door machine, where we make all of our 5-piece doors. The cut parts will go into here, and it uses a CNC controlled mortise and tenoning tool to create a mortise and tenon onto both sides of a part, allowing us to make perfectly jointed 5-piece doors. Right here is where all the parts get cut. We have a digital saw stop here, razor gauge setup. It's a 10-foot capacity saw stop. With the computer on it, we're able to bring in a cut list right from our order system, and anyone can optimize the lengths because the computer does all the work. We have a safety upcut saw, no need for cutting parts manually. It's keep your hands free, a foot pedal to cut, digital stop. So we have one operator that'll run the N300 CNC, will run the D200 dowel inserter, and also runs the KDF 650 edge bander. So the way we run this process is the operator can run the CNC for 10-15 sheets worth of material. We cut all of our cabinet components. As the parts come off, they go through the dowel inserter, which we have scanning technology set up, so there's no measuring, no wrong doweling. It's just been scanned. Then he'll edge band the parts because we split the orders so that he'll cut cabinet components, which is a lot faster cycle time of the machine. Then we'll throw on MDF, cut MDF doors, which is a lot longer process, giving him time to edge band and clear these conveyors out of all the parts he had previously cut. So here off of the CNC, the parts have been conveyored out. It's very easy for the operator to click on the part that's here on the sheet, print his label, and there it is. All the information we need. Here we can see there's a job name, the cabinet that this door corresponds to, so that when they get to the hinge area, the operator at the hinge area doesn't even have to measure the door and figure out which cabinet it goes to. It tells them right there, this is going to cabinet 301, which is a wall cabinet in this case. So with the N300 CNC machine is a fully load, fully automated unload on this conveyor. We run this labeling computer where we can select the parts as they come off on the pattern. So then we have it nested in a specific order, so then they get sorted onto the conveyors in the exact order that we want to run them through the next machine. Optimizing of the material is important, but we found that it's more important to save time. So we actually prioritize part number so that the pieces come off in a specific order, making less handling time for our operators. The pieces will come off the CNC, they get sorted onto the conveyors as they get doweled, and then they head down to the edge bander in the order of what color they're getting, so which eliminates the amount of times we have to switch the tape over at the edge bander. You can see the operator is going to be feeding parts into the machine. Every pile is a different color of edging that he's putting through, and then they're going to come off and go right into a sorting cart here on the right hand side. Each bin on that cart is for an individual cabinet, which is marked on the label, so we just have to match up cabinet 1 to cabinet 2 and so on. So you see he split the piece. It's because the label tells you which side of which piece is getting what color of edge. Very straightforward, very clear to see. So it's the edge sanding machine that we've purchased. So here you see he's sanding the faces by hand on a few pieces. Then he'll throw them through this edge machine. He'll get all 4 edges of the door panels. They'll be edged perfectly smooth, ready for paint. And that's the only sanding that has to happen. So you'll see him in as fast as he can go, is as fast as it'll sand. It's got the oscillating edge sander and a little brush sander at the end to finish with a little return conveyor. He comes back, rotate them 90 degrees, send them back through again. And this is just the process for doing the edges of some doors. Previously, we just had the sanding bench with no equipment, just the Mirka edge sander. Previously, it was just the sanding bench with just the sander to do edges and faces, everything all by hand with the pneumatic sander and sandpaper. But now switching to this machine, and of course the brush sander, which we'll see in a minute, we're able to put through a lot of material with just one person. Here's a cabinet sorting cart which we developed. Previously we ran conveyors for all of our parts all the way through the entire factory. But in rearranging the shop our previous time, we've moved the edge banner to this spot and we've eliminated a few conveyors. So now we have only a couple short conveyors feeding parts to the operator, so that now we move to these sorting bins. So each of these, we have 7 of them. Every cart has 8 slots. We're able to organize our parts a lot better. They used to come down in piles to the assembly bench, and it was a lot more organization that the assembler would have to do. Yeah. He wants to show off the flat sander now that he's ready to feed parts through it. So we could walk to this side. Now he's going to turn it on. So. After the MDF doors go through the edge sander, they now go through the Lauer face sander. It's a oscillating multi-disc brush head inside of that machine, and it's going to move and it's going to brush sand the faces of all these doors, breaking every edge and prepping the entire surface for paint. Every order has a clipboard so that we can keep tracking of the job, and all of the work orders on the clipboards are color-coded depending on what type of job it is. For instance, this blue one here is just raw doors going out to another shop for them to prep. So one man can feed the parts in 5 or 6 at a time on the front side, and just a casual walk to the other side. Grab his parts, onto the rack, ready to head into the paint booth. This machine's helped us because we used to sand between every coat of primer and all by hand, and prepping was a full-time job. Now, one operator can run these 2 sanding machines and get everything done in half the time. So we're able to sand at raw, and then it's prepped so well that we don't have to sand between 2 primers. We just do one more sand between our second primer and our paint coat. This opening was for a flatline spray machine that we had originally planned for, and because we're already at capacity, we're going to have to wait until we move to our new location. So now this just acts as an entrance for the spray booth. So we have an open 10-foot booth. All the pumps are there. We run a pump for every color, so that eliminates our time of cleaning out guns and we have our own Kremlin pump for every individual color that we stock. It eliminates all the time it takes to keep cleaning and running one pump, and It allows us to speed up a lot of time. If you have a respray, you already have a pump set up for that color. So here is our oven where we run 4 sunspot units through CNC automation. Set us up with these. They've really cut our dry time down with our painted products. As you know, it can be hours for primer and paints to dry. And with this drying room that we've set up, we've cut it down to 25 minutes. So all the production loops around to that edge bander, hits onto the assembly carts, where we bring them through this very tight opening to the automated case clamp. Let's cut the shot. Been looking for this. So maybe we'll get a shot and I'll show off the glue tank that's up above me here. And I'll show how the glue gun works. So at assembly, you may be familiar with glue bottles, but we've actually upgraded to this automated glue dispenser through CNC automation. With this control, I'm able to set one button to an exact amount of glue I want for per dowel hole. There's no guessing the amount. There's no having to squeeze a glue bottle all day. I can just click and fill each hole as necessary. So we have this high bench here to make it easier to glue, no bending over. Build the components right on here, and they'll get taken right through. Previous to this automated case clamp, we had a manually operating one where an assembler, the most he could build in a day was 55 boxes. That's our company record with the manual machine. Myself, if I run this automated clamp, it puts me at 12 boxes an hour. And in a shift here, that means 95 boxes in a day. Building on the conveyor, they come in one end, they shoot right throughout the other, eliminating having to lift all the assemblies, making it a lot easier. Okay. And he just needs a hand, so 1 sec. Yeah? Yeah, sure. Okay, so the boxes come out of the clamp and continue down the conveyor. From there, they're cleaned up of any glue or extra labels now that they're in assembly. We continue with the paperwork. The colored paper follows it. In this case, a yellow work order means it's a complete order going to a contractor. And you can see there's colored cones as the majority of the boxes are white. It's just a nice visual cue to tell these 4 or 5 boxes, they're grouped together. Or this single one, it's on its own. Each color just means it's a different order. So as they go into packaging and shipping, no one grabs the wrong boxes without having to read through all of the paperwork. Now that we're into the hinging area, you can see we have multiple hinge machines, and that's just because we have multiple setups. And what could be more time consuming than having someone switch your tools around, changing the setup, leaving it set up in a different way than you want to use it, because there's always ways to mess up a piece, and why mess it up at the final location. So here we have a different machine for each process so that you can take your door to either machine and it's already set up for the process you want to do. And from there, they come down off of the line. They hit this other transfer cart, which we have powered up. The boxes can come onto here, and they will wheel off right onto this packaging line that we just put in this year. This is a fully automated cabinet packaging machine. Here at the packaging line, you can see that the cabinets will go through a layer of bubble wrap and automatically get cut off and orbital wrapped with saran wrap. This machine has been such a big help for us. We used to manually wrap cabinets in foam and plastic all by hand. And now with this automated line, we can wrap 5 cabinets in 5 minutes if we wanted. And with our tip down table we made at the end, anyone can unload the box from the wrapper. So the wrapper came with just this outfeed conveyor, and it is an add-on option, but we ended up fashioning our own outfeed table here that will tip down. We cut apart our own pallet jack with the power button here to lift and lower cabinets right off. This is something that we just made up ourselves, like a lot of things. We try to bring in new processes and make things as easy as possible. So here in the shipping area, we run these double-decker carts that we made so we can have pretty much a full kitchen on every cart, as well as some overstock of packaging items. And this doesn't look like a very big area, and it's really not, because the amount of production that we could do in a regular day, this area is usually full. We can produce between 10 and 12 kitchens a week with our current crew and our current factory. And that's really limited to how much storage space we have here, because we can only store up to 15 kitchens in the shipping area. So every day, someone's picking up.